Hey, Stoney here with another game of Mechabellum. And if you hate Stormcrawlers, this is the game for you. Watch how a Stormcrawler player gets hard countered in this game. Let's go. At the bottom here, I am playing as a supply specialist starting off with tarantulas as well as 3 squads of crawlers. I am up against 3 arclights, 2 steel balls, and of course 2 more crawlers as chaff. My opponent, unfathomably shallow, is playing as a fortified specialist. I've decided to go on one side instead of going an even spread, mostly because I'm terrified of the steel balls. They're just so good against tarantulas in the early levels, and I have no easy answer for them. So what I wanted to do is just to have enough crawlers to overwhelm, hopefully the arclights, so that I have a fighting chance against the steel balls. So let's get this game going. Let's speed this process up. Alright, looking at round 1 here, this is a pretty straightforward fight. We have steel balls and of course crawlers going in on the other side, but on my side I am winning. I'm getting the crawlers. Unfortunately, I don't think I have enough up against the steel balls. And also I've wasted a missile here, which is kind of sad. I originally had the missile here because I wanted to make sure that my opponent doesn't do anything cheeky, and also if he does get a steel ball in here, my missile will be able to kill him. But I underestimated just how far back his position his units. Usually when you see ball crawler arclights, you can see them sort of in this area. All right, round 2, we are having another tarantula on the other side. And of course, we are going flank because there was a spec specialist card being dropped in that round. Alright, so we have pulled most of the units back, and now my crawlers are getting in and doing the work. And you also notice how the arclight is currently locked onto the tarantula, and this is the best case scenario. That's what you want to do when you have when you're up against arclights. And this is also a potential drawback for arclights. So if your opponent decides to take range on the arclight, you can actually try to time it by putting a high HP unit just outside of his maximum range, so that when you do run forward, the arclight will be locked onto that unit and not caring about the rest of your army. Alright, get into round 3. First of all, reinforcement in the form of unit cards. Typhoon seems to make a lot of sense for me at this point, mostly because I want to set up a pretty deadly flank on both sides. My opponent's already putting crawlers here as well as crawlers on the other side, so if I have Typhoons, I could get shield, and then I could replicate my crawlers, and I will be able to create a lot of problems for my opponent. My opponent did decide to take the level 3 marksman. I think that's a very good choice. They do significant amount of damage to tarantulas. And his chaff clear is decent, but I wouldn't mind even more units for the purpose of chaff clear. And it seems like that's going to be the Mustangs. All right, replicate is taking on the crawlers, which means once these units spawn, first of all, the Mustangs will focus on the Typhoons. The crawlers will run forward, get these crawlers, and hopefully get the Mustangs as well. And same goes to the other side. All right, so let's watch this unfold here in this corner. Yeah, gets locked on the Mustangs. Typhoon gets in. Crawlers gets in. Mustangs still aiming at the Typhoons because they're super tanky. Crawlers continues to get in, and we're really just holding up this entire flank with a few units. Right back here at the front, we are breaking through, at least on the middle and also to the left, and my flank is broken through as well, which means this is now forcing my opponents to come up with a very hard counter. Alright, level 3 marksman is no joke. And neither is the arclight, but that's okay. I got replicate and unlimited supply of crawlers. And there we go. Subsidized steel ball made a lot of sense to me. I was already going pretty hard into Tarantula and also into this flank here, I needed a single unit high, anti-giant unit. So the steel balls made a lot of sense for me. My opponent decided to skip, but he also added steel balls onto his flanks. So right now his flank is complete. We're going to have steel balls locking onto the Typhoons, crawlers locking onto my crawlers. I would need to have shield on the Typhoons right away. He also took high explosive ammo on the Mustangs. Now this is a bit of a double-edged sword. It does make your Mustang even weaker, so now they're only doing 24 damage per shot, so extremely weak. But it does come with a 7-meter splash. So that's not too bad. They're just not going to be any meaningful giant killing later on in this game. But they'll be excellent for Chaffler, though. Okay. Added even more tarantulas here at the front. At the back here, however, I think I would not be winning this fight, especially with the steel balls getting a lock on to my Typhoons. Alright. Still getting a lot of damage up front here, but with the reinforcement pouring in from behind, I think my opponent might just have enough to hold this off. So let's look at both sides here. Okay, so just barely not enough. We'll just have a few too many crawlers for him to deal with. Alright. Haste module is picked up by me. Haste module is going to go on to, I think it's going to be on a pair of steel balls. And my opponent decided to take the fire control, improved fire control system on the Mustangs. A very common move for Mustangs since they scale extremely well. And he's also putting out Vulcan to hard counter my crawlers, which are now double teched with impact drill and replicate. The impact drill is there mostly for killing steel balls. If I can get through the steel balls faster, then I can get through the Mustangs faster. But now with the Mustangs already level 2, that is going to be a little bit more challenging. Yeah, so it's going to be a little bit challenging because of the steel balls. I could have reinforced my position by just adding even more steel balls. Looking at the center here, I am still getting most of the units here on the right-hand side, but on the left-hand side, that Vulcan has been proving extremely valuable, getting most of my units. The Mustangs on the other side is also doing really well because now the steel balls are leveled and the Mustangs are leveled themselves, so they're actually doing decent damage against my steel balls. Now the question is, can I get tower? And the answer is yes, I can get tower, but I would not have enough damage to deal with this many steel balls. So this round is going to go to my opponent. Reinforcement again, we're looking at Absorption, Portable Shield. Both of these are decent cards. Energy Shield device is also decent. Portable Shield went to my opponent. And I decided to take the Energy Shield spec. I'm planning for a longer game here. I think my opponent at some point is going to press the Incendiary Bomb, which will cause a lot of problems for me. And the flanks right now, they're not really doing that much. Yes, we're going to have crawlers here at the front, but the steel balls are just doing a lot of damage. I added fortresses as a direct counter to the Vulcan. I think my chaff clear is decent. Now I just need the tank to get through this thick layer of Vulcan here. Decided to take temp speed and also borrowed because I wanted to get some levels off my tarantulas. And I added haste module on level 3 crawler. Just really want them to get in there and do the damage. They should be under the cover of these two crawlers on the side, so if they do connect with the unit, they should be able to do decent damage. Now the question is, can they actually connect with the unit? Well, here they are, and no, that is not a great crawler engagement. Alright, right hand side cleaned up pretty nicely. Left hand side is also going okay. But there are some level 3 steel balls, and those Can pack quite a bit of damage. I was very lucky this round with the large units left over, but I probably won't be so lucky on the next one. Alright, let's see. Stonecallers, I think, is an excellent card. Wraith is also a great card, but I think what I really needed was just some immediate damage here at the front. My opponent decided to take Scourge on the Vulcan, so now these Vulcans are powerful enough to contest another giant. And I took Launcher Overload on the Stormcaller. So the reason I had Launcher Overload is because I knew he's got Steel Balls, and I knew he's got a lot of HP on the front line. So I'm not so worried about Chaff Clear. What I really want to do is to deal the damage. My opponent took the Fire Badgers with Ignite, thinking of using the Fire Badgers as a means to kill my fortresses, and also killing my Tarantulas because Ignite does deal percentage damage. Alright. He borrowed, took armor on the Steel Balls. That's very interesting. That's going to make those Steel Balls very difficult to kill. I think armor on the Steel Balls is 35% increase in HP, 60 damage blocked per level. Which means at this point, that is, at least for that level 3, is 180 damage blocked for Tarantulas. Crawlers, they're okay. They don't usually get in touch with the Steel Balls anyway, so no harm's done. I'm mostly concerned about these Vulcans. Alright, let's see how this round goes. Alright, Ignite doing work here on this Tarantula, as you can see. However, these Fire Badgers never made it through the front, so they're just being destroyed right here by my Stonecallers. Stonecallers are getting on the left-hand side, on the right-hand side, but on the left-hand side, though, the Steel Balls are coming in, and my Fortress, I just lock onto the Vulcan for far too long, and I wasn't able to seal the deal. Ooh, we still got Crawlers coming in, and of course we got a pair of level 3 Steel Balls, and with that, that is going to be the end of my rounds. So the level 3 Steel Balls are very powerful. Bombard is a great option here. Mobilized Battleship also has its place, but right now it seems like all the Mustangs are covering his entire backside, so Bombard is the logical decision. I think it's time to start selling my flank. I don't think they're doing much, and if anything, they're just here contributing to the HP of my opponent's defenders, so I want to get rid of those. My opponent also did go with Bombard on this side. I think that's a smart move because it's going to get rid of my Stonecallers, which was the primary source of my damage. Also took the War Factory, which means now my Stonecallers are going to be in a bit of a trouble. I took Spider Mines on the Tarantulas, mostly because I saw just, you know, the Ball Crawler Mustang. I want to create a bit more chaos in the later round of the stage. Balls aren't particularly good against Spider Mines. Mustangs, they're decent. Alright. So in this round, we're going to see this flank coming into the Bombard. The War Factory is going to be super annoying because now I have some leveled Stonecallers and they are not doing anything. And it's always tough when you have something like this against the War Factory. Do you double down on the Stonecallers? Do you stagger the Stonecallers? Or do you start selling them out? Alright, Stonecallers are doing a lot of work on the right-hand side. As you can see, a lot of Steel Balls going down as the result of these Stonecallers. On the left-hand side, we do have one Steel Ball kind of escaping. But it's getting pretty close, though, because the War Factory is still standing. Ooh, and we have a level 3 Steel Ball coming in just in the nick of time and getting rid of my Fortress. Unit drop. We're going to have snipers on my side. And for my opponent, I think he took the Saber Cash. Made sense because he wanted to bring in another 2 war factories, and they're now completely annihilating my Stonecaller. I think this is where I start to make a misplay. Instead of having fortresses, I should have immediately switched over to melting points. But at this point, I thought, you know what? 1 war factory is fine. Let's get more Stormcallers, because Stormcallers with launcher overload, 2 of them can actually overpower a single war factory. So that was the thought process anyways, and besides, I already had high-level Stormcallers, and I didn't want to waste the investment. So I went even deeper. And this is a problem with any sort of strategy game, right? Is the sunk cost fallacy. And usually the way it works is that because I've already invested in something, I might as well see it through the end, even though that something is no longer working. We've seen that in investments, we've seen that in strategy games. Sometimes you just want to get even more of the same unit when it's clearly not working. And you can see it here, right? This is clearly not working. Now, fortunately, I still have a level 2 fortress, which means I can still survive just for 1 more round. All right, we got Nuke on both ends. Nuke is a very exciting card. It really changed the tide of the battle here. And with Nuke, I immediately click Barrier. I needed the shield. We're now getting into the late game. My opponent continues to add even more war factories. He does not have efficient maintenance, which means every turn, last turn, he spent 600 on just war factories maintenance, and next turn he's going to spend 800. He did also pick the nuke, and he's going to put the oil down on the other side. Now, fortunately for me, I do have the shield. And right now, my fortresses are all leveled up, which means they can contest the war factory pretty comfortably. Right now, this one is 150,000. The war factory is 220,000 health, so they're in the similar ballpark. The nuke didn't do anything to my army, but it has done a tremendous amount of damage to my opponent's army, killing almost all of his units on the left-hand side. But the question is, can I get through these 4 war factories? That's a lot of HP when I don't have any melting points. Alright, I think all the hope is now resting on this level 3 fortress. And it looks like we're going to have a tower. Ooh, it looks like my opponent's also going to get his tower. But I do have a level 4 marksman with EM, disabling the factory, allowing my Stonecallers to continue to shell onto the factory. But is that enough, though? Ooh, barely just scraping by here. Overlord is an interesting choice. I wanted to get something that I can sell, so I got the Sabertooth. I got rid of the Sabertooth, and then instead I added in the melting point. I sorely needed that melting point last round, but this round, now the factory with range, that's going to be very difficult. And also, with the Overlord and Photon, everything's going to be super tanky. So I really have an uphill battle here. Not only my melting point has to get through his chaff, and my chaff clear is not as great, especially with so many steel balls coming my way. And I also have to get through this Photon, all of this under the ranged barrage of these war factories. So a very difficult battle. Now, my melting point is locking on to something bigger. So this one is getting a Vulcan. Alright. After the Vulcan, is that going to be another... Is that going to be another war factory? No, not quite. No, not quite. We are distracted by the army on the right. And with the war factory coming in, that is going to be the end of this game. So the lesson learned here is that if you're stuck with the composition that's being hard countered, don't stay in that composition. Switch out of it, sell it, get something different, get something that counters your opponent's counter. Well, I hope you enjoyed this game, and I will see you on the next one.
Prepare your tactics. Mechabellum's calling. Deploy your fortress. The battlefield's alive with swarms.